Hey, what's going on, guys? This is RaNus with a Tribes map editing tutorial. I had a request from a couple people. Clown wanted to know how to make maps. Ms. Bitch wanted to know how to make... Can I say that? Ms. Bitch wanted to know how to make maps. And in general, I felt like it might be good to have a single resource for people who want to make maps so they don't have to go hunting. I mean, I just learned how to make them over the past couple weeks, and it took a lot of hunting. I was in the Tribes repository. I was trying to get a hold of Swordfish, who came up with OpenCall 3. I mean, other people were involved too, but they kind of sort of remembered, didn't remember. So yeah, there was a lot of experimenting, and here's basically what I found. So the first thing, I mean, now we play Tribes 1.4. The editor, if this is my Tribes 1.4 folder, this editor, it just doesn't work. Or if you just go into Tribes and try to execute the editor, it just, I don't know, it's bugged. I asked about it. Apparently it just doesn't work. There might be some way to do it. I don't know what it is. So workaround is to go into Tribes 1.1. I actually had to download this. This is just like totally raw Tribes 1.1 without anything. So it works here. The editor works in Tribes 1.1, so that's what I've been using to edit my maps. It's kind of shitty because I can't, for some reason I can't mess with my resolution, and like everything's super low res. It's going to be very low res for this tutorial too, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of what all the controls are, etc. So any map has, if you go base missions, in Tribes 1.4, the way the files are set up, it's Tribes LT missions. So fine, let's go into Tribes 1.1 base missions, and if you look at any of these maps, say good old roller coaster, that's a map I tried to make, it didn't work. Broadside LT, so there's a DSC file, an MIS, a TED, and a vol. The DSC is just description, I guess. This is what it looks like. It's just like the little, in the loading screen before you actually start the map when you hit host game. This is all the stuff that is written. So it's pretty simple. I mean, you could edit this stuff, put your name on it, whatever. But it's pretty straightforward, and it doesn't really affect the map. Yeah, as far as I know, if you edit this, you can't screw up your map. The MIS, this is the actual code for the mission itself, and this is just like code format of what you'll see inside the editor. Inside the editor, it's a lot of like drop downs and sort of clicking around, and then it basically, you're editing, what you're doing in the editor is you're editing this code. So drop point 1, drop point marker, position, rotation, whatever. You'll actually see all of this information in the actual editor. But you don't actually have to go in and edit this document, because any change you make in the actual editor within the game, it will just update this document for you. The TED, I don't know. I don't know. The TED and the vol file. This has to do with lighting or something, lighting the terrain, and then lighting the buildings. I would just say stay away from these. Just don't touch them. One theory was that you can see that the difference. Okay, so this is 1.1, and you have these 4 file types. Okay, and remember this last one, VOL. If you go into Tribes 1.4, you go find the same LT map, Broadside LT. Okay, you're missing the vol, and you actually have a zip. So there's a little extension, little plugin here. It's called Volumer. If you open this up, it allows you to basically extract files from a vol and zip them up. Just for example, let's say broadside lt.vol. So these are all of the files that are inside the vol. I never knew what a vol was before, but I guess it's like a old school zip or something. And now, since we're using 1.4, we use zips. I don't know why. So these are all of the buildings, and I imagine they have some sort of like lighting information and shadow information, because in the map, depending on like where the sun is, where the hills are, you can hit this button, which Lion told me to never press. I pressed it, and then my maps totally blew up. It's called Relight. So just don't push that button, because it's supposed, I think it should update these lighting files, or these building files with, the current lighting information, but it just doesn't. When I delete a building and I replace it with a completely different asset, this vol file does not update. And even, once we found this stork, and I thought that like for sure this was a way to fix roller coaster, because that's what I did for my first map, if you guys saw it. I started with roller coaster, and then I decided to get creative. So I generated some new terrain. There's just this button I can show you guys. Don't push that button either. And then it just generates hills, and then I just kept pushing it until I found something that I thought was cool. And then I dropped I deleted, most of the buildings. I put in new ones. I hit relight, and I thought, oh, nice. This is gonna be fine. When I opened the vol file, it didn't. All of these assets were the old roller coaster assets. So it somehow wasn't updating the vol file with the current information, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. And even, I try to find all of the new assets that I put in, like the bridge from Rain Dance, I don't know, whatever. I just went into all these other zips and tried to extract everything that I needed, but it just still wasn't working. Like my roller coaster would just it would work in 1.1, but when I tried to open it up in 1.4, it would load all the way to waiting for mission start, and then tribes would crash. And basically nobody could tell me why. I may find the map wasn't that good to begin with. But it was pretty frustrating. So hopefully you guys can avoid that. So again, just don't touch the TED file, don't touch the vol file. Go in 1.1, because once you make your
where's the all rush side?
Let's see. Okay, let's just get into it. Okay, let's say the first thing I would recommend to do is pick any map that you want to start with. Let's say broadside. So I would just recommend making a copy of broadside, and then it's fine if it's just called copy whatever. But if you just copy this is in 1.1 base missions. If you make a copy of all these files, this is a viable version of broadside that you can edit freely without screwing up your original broadside files. And always try to back up stuff, because there's really no going back into your history, your editing history or whatever. I usually have 2 copies of the map going, my last save version, and then whenever I start working on an update, I'll just copy it, and create a working version of the map, just so I don't screw it up. So okay, now that we've created broadside LT copy, we can go back to the root folder, open up tribes 1.1 rather. So I have this in Windows mode just because it's going to be easier to show you guys. So yeah, roller crossing test, that's the one I'm working on. Broadside LT copy. So again, this is the info that is in the description, the DSC file. Okie doke, broadside LT copy. So as you can see, I was just goofing around with it, just putting in random stuff here. Oh shit, maybe I should not do this. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I accidentally hit escape, and I hit escape to get out of tribes, just out of habit, and it stopped my recording. Okay, anyway, let us actually not do broadside because I've already tinkered with it. Like I dumped in, you saw that rocket turret, whatever. And I think I put in the rocket turret and I hit relight, whatever, it was just a test. So the important thing is to find a map that you think has potential for having great hills without any sort of editing. Hildebrand, Hill King, maybe Ice Dagger. I mean, this is the hard part. I mean, that's the reason I chose Dangerous Crossing and I went way out of bounds because I thought DX had a lot of interesting hills that were sort of, underutilized. I mean, they're just totally new hills, pretty much. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. This should be good. I think we can make another map out of Dangerous Crossing. I mean, now that I've actually made Roller Crossing and put the maps in, it's been tested by a couple pub players. I don't really like it anymore, but I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to do. I mean, we play 3 maps now, and I don't even like Hildebrand. I mean, Dangerous Crossing and Stonehenge, I think, are the only good maps, really. So it's pretty rare to find a good map. Making a good map is even harder. But we can try. And, maybe if a lot of people, pitch in and, start making their own maps, come up with better ideas of how to do it, we could come up with something viable. So anyway, Dangerous Crossing LT copy. Make sure you make a copy of the map that you're trying to edit. And then get on into tribes. This is again 1.1. Okay. Alrighty, so here I am. One thing you might want to do is go into, because again, my 1.1 is super low res. You guys might want to go into 1.4 first, and then just scout around, like out of bounds or whatever, for like a piece of terrain that you think would be pretty, I don't know, has potential, I guess. Because I mean, I had to install a ski script for 1.1. It's not the same, obviously. But let's say we found a patch of dirt that looked kind of promising. Well, I don't know, whatever. Let's say it's like this hill versus yeah, let's just put a base like here, and let's just put a base like over there, just for kicks. So first thing you do, you hit tilde, open up your command prompt, and type exec editor, just like that, with a semicolon on the end. And then that will make your screen go gray. Don't freak out, just get out of it. And then there's actually an online doc that Lion posted that has all the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts for moving around in the editor. But I could just kind of tell you what I'm doing. I just press 6, I hold E, and then I come up. And then you can kind of zoom around just like you would in observer mode. All those little gray blobs are some sort of asset, spawn point, base, obviously. Okay, so if we go out here, all right, well, there's the asset, the little human. So let's just go over and see what we have. So drop downs, volumes. Here, just don't touch any of this. This whole thing where it says volumes, just don't touch it. This TED and mission lighting, you can see that it retains the lighting information from Dangerous Crossing LT TED. And this is important because for Roller Coaster, even if it worked, because I had created new terrain and I had messed with the lighting, every player who wanted to play it would have to download the map individually and you put it into their tribes folder client side. With Roller Crossing, because I did not screw with this stuff, all I did was I sent the mission files to Roscoe. He just put it on the server and everybody was able to play it. So it's a new map, but it doesn't require that the player do anything new. So that's really good. World, let's see, palette. I didn't screw with that. Mission center, you will have to mess with. So this is, obviously, if you make a map out of bounds, you make bases out of bounds. You actually have to move the boundaries of the map, which is pretty tedious because this position is not really, to use this is not very intuitive. I would just go like minus 10,000 minus or whatever. I would say like I would make the map like 10,000 by 10,000, and then I would, just close this out. If you hit F5, it toggles between the map editor and this, so you can really, so you can go into human mode or whatever, and then quickly see. Just press Command Map to see, where your bounds are. So if you, for example, if you make this 1,000 by 1,000, and you make this, I don't know, 0 and 200, you hit Apply, and you actually have to hit Save. Sometimes to make changes, you have to hit Apply and then Save. Sometimes you just have to hit Apply for them to register in this mode. But you can see here that obviously the map this is actually pretty good. And then, yeah, you just have to fiddle with it until you find, boundaries that are, I don't know, reasonable, I guess. Maybe also consider how on the map you're going to position your bases. Like, are you going to position them diagonally on this? Because the map is going to be a square, right? So are you going to put your one base here and your another base, here at the bottom? Are you going to put them in kind of corners and allow people to run sort of like side routes in bounds, kind of like this almost like diamond formation with something big in the middle? Stonehenge, it's on a diagonal. Dangerous Crossing is on a diagonal. I think a lot of maps are on a diagonal. So anyway, that's Mission Center. So those are the two. Yeah, but Mission Center, I would just screw with that at the very end once you know exactly where your bases are. Landscape, sky, sun, terrain. I would just not touch anything here. Sometimes when I try to edit some of this stuff, and it would just totally, it would just crash. So obviously an issue if you haven't saved whatever you were just working on, then you try to edit something. So yeah, some of this stuff, it will just crash your tribes, and you kind of don't know what it is. I don't really remember what it is. I think most of it was in landscape. Lights, I don't know what the hell that is. It's like way out of bounds, like at the corner of the terrain. There's like some sort of little gray, like invisible asset that corresponds to this, but I don't know what it does. So, and then these next three are really where you're going to be adding stuff. Bridge, it's just called bridge, but you can just rename it whatever you want. You could just say like neutral assets or whatever. So, these are, if we go over here, it's kind of nice because they, this bridge is built from pieces. So that's the first bridge, and you can see it's made out of pieces here. This is the second bridge. In this case, it doesn't matter because these, they don't have to be separated. You could all just have them in one, because they don't belong to a certain team. But some stuff, like if you want this building to have the Blood Eagle logo, you have to make it a non-neutral asset, I guess. So this thing here, you can see that, okay, so this is a neutral, this is the bridge. The team is -1, and that's sort of, I don't know, that doesn't correspond to either team. But you can't actually edit this. You can't make this, like, let's say I made it, like, I try to make this 0, which I forget is either Blood Eagle or Diamond Sword. If I hit apply, it just won't change it, because the only way to assign it is to first, you have to highlight the team that you want to put it on, like Team 0. Okay, so Team 0 is obviously Blood Eagle, because they lit up green. Tank. Okay, so tank is actually this this building here. Stuff. Okay, so you want a blood eagle flag, not just any kind of flag, obviously. So that's this guy. I mean, if you just so the way you do it, you highlight team, and then you press F3 to bring up your list of possible assets, and then you say, well, how about I want like a logo in the middle of like the Blood Eagle base. Well, that's really awful. Hold on, let me just not do that inside the base. So let's say I wanted to add something else that was Blood Eagle. I would make sure to highlight, because like once you delete stuff, you notice that this became unhighlighted, and that's how I screwed up a couple things in Roller Crossing. I made a couple spawn points for Diamond Sword on the Blood Eagle side, just because I sort of lost track of whether it was being properly assigned to the right team. So make sure this is highlighted, and then you can just drop it in, and then it will be Blood Eagle. Meanwhile, if I had done highlighted team 1, well, maybe I want it to be under stuff. I wonder if this will work. And I hit 3, yeah, it works. And now this is the Diamond Sword one. But if, let's say I went under just neutral, a neutral block, this, you saw I highlighted that. This one doesn't have any logo on it. So that's kind of the way to make stuff, assigned to one team or the other. So yeah, let's just give it a go and try to make a little map ski. So obviously you're gonna want to delete everything that the previous map had that you don't want to reuse. Be very careful to preserve this structure here. Like, don't delete this entire drop points like, I don't know, directory and subdirectory, whatever. So for drop points, start is where you spawn when you change teams to Blood Eagle. Mostly it's like, spawning on the base or whatever. Or I'll just show you, hold on. No, that's not what I wanted to do. So these are the start, when you change teams or when you are about to start, you're gonna spawn anywhere here. If you just Control K or you get killed, whatever, you will randomly spawn in one of these areas, which are different. So most likely you're gonna spawn in front of your base, blah blah blah. So yeah, don't delete this. Oh, where's my guy? So if you want to add, let's say like start random, we want to delete all this stuff. Control delete is to delete. So you want to preserve the name of this, like the start, right? So let's say I want to spawn, well, right where I am, F3. It's gonna be mission, drop point, and then just bring it on up, and you can see that it's over here. So let's say, and then you can do the same thing for random. Just make sure that it's highlighted, and then just dump that in, and here you go. I'm gonna spawn the first time lower, and then if I get killed, I'll spawn higher. So let's see, if I change teams to Blood Eagle, here I am, and then this is my start point, obviously, and then if I Control K and die, uh-oh, okay, so I screwed that up. Why did that happen? Let's see, random. Oh, yeah, because for the random, let's see what happens. Yeah. Oh, that's bad. Oh Jesus, I can't stop it. Yeah, you actually have to go. Well, now it says I'm out of the mission area, obviously, because I changed the boundaries. You're actually gonna have to close tribes. We'll save it, obviously. In order for the random respawns to update, you actually have to close tribes. So save it, exit, go back in, and then it should be updated. So a lot of this stuff, it's like randomly quirky, and it doesn't really make sense. So here I am. Oh well, that's my initial spawn. So yeah, I'm just gonna suicide really quick.
You just gotta kill. Why wouldn't you know where he is?
All right, so here I am. Okay, so that works. That's solved.
See when your team dies, right?
Just again, I need to put in the exec editor little thingy.
Yeah,
Zoom on up. Where am I? Yeah, sometimes you can get lost. Okay, so where else? Teams, team 1, map marker, tank. Okay, so let's say I don't want that tank. I don't want that logo while I built that. Stuff, stand, flag. I don't know, I guess that's fine. Map marker, this is, the map marker just shows, well, it doesn't show now, obviously, but it's this Blood Eagle flag marker. I guess it's not necessary, but that's what it does. So team 1 under stuff, sure. Well, okay, fine. Let's go. Let's put under stuff. There's a lot of bases that are an option, that are possible, I guess. How many of them are viable? I don't know. I mean, I try to use the roller coaster base, so you can just kind of click through this stuff and be like, okay, like, is any of this? Jesus, way too huge. I don't know, exterior, flag base, float base rather, functional tank. So yeah, let's say, that's kind of cool. It's okay. Whatever, good old Stonehenge. So fine, let's just say we want to use this thing. So sure, it's too big. We can hold shift, and then if you just spin it around to rotate it, you can move it up and down if you hold control and go up and down. And then you can actually rotate it on another axis, whatever, Z axis, I guess. And that's by holding Alt and then going like this. One thing you can do, if let's say you like make it like this and you're like, oh shit, I actually wanted it to be straight, you can go back, just kind of reset your menu here. Do not press F3, do not bring up your asset list, and if you just hit tank, like whatever the asset name, and then rotation, just put in 0, 0, 0, and then hit apply, it will just kind of reset. So some stuff is easier to edit than others, like sometimes you'll try to like spin it or like make it tilt like sideways, but it keeps wanting to tilt like on a diagonal. I think I actually need to reset this. Okay, and now, yeah, see, because it wants to fall that way. So now it's falling nicely at a 90-degree angle. But if you rotate it first and then try to, it's basically going to rotate on the same plane, but your object is just going to be crooked. So whatever, little stuff like that. Okay, sometimes you'll just press it and it'll disappear. Control Z is undo. Only does only one step of undo. Let's see. Okay, so fine. Let's say 0, 0, 0. And this is neutral. I mean, this doesn't have a, I don't think this has like a Blood Eagle option, but let's say that's like our flag stand. No, well, see, I put it under neutral. Well, I don't know. This could be an objective or something. Let's just put a little tower switch here. Okay, this will be worth extra points. Hooray. Okay, so I'll make my my base here, I guess. Flag crash, flag column. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, a lot of it is just moving stuff around. Trying not to let it get away from you. You know, because obviously here we have like two things. But you know, the more organized you keep it, because you know, eventually, I mean, look at all those dots. You know, if you put it all in a single folder or like a single directory, then you can just highlight the entire directory and like, you know, whatever, just move. Let's see, stuff. Where am I here? Neutral tank. Okay, well now I don't remember. Okay, anyway, so you guys can figure that out. But what you need is a flag. You need drop points, both start and random. Make sure to add a drop point for the observer. I think it can just be 1 as far as I know. Let's say we delete all these. Yeah, also, again, just don't delete this, because once you do, I don't know, it's like pretty hard to get it back. I mean, you could try to like make your own shoot, yeah, you can like add your own group or path or something weird, but I would just try to like, again, work with the existing structure. So yeah, just put in a little drop point for observer, and then this should work. Hopefully change. Oh geez, that's not it. Change to observer. Okay, that doesn't work again because I need to reset, basically close out of tribes and do it again. What else is there? I mean, that's pretty much it. Ooh, okay, if you press F4, first F5 to get into the editor, then if you press F4, this is your terrain editor. If you push this button, it will just make everything flat. You know, you can generate rugged hills, whatever, rolling hills, and then you can have it relight. Again, don't do that. Like, it will. Okay, so fine, you just put in this new building. If you hit TUD light, it will make this building cast a shadow onto the neighboring terrain. But whatever, just don't do it, because it's gonna screw up your map. This button here, relight, don't push this button either. You know, even if you do push it, it gives you an option to cancel. There's 2 ways to do it: a quick or like a full relight. Just don't do either. Let's see, what else is there? F1 is just to zoom around without any sort of menu in the way. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Team drops, blah blah blah, mission cleanup. I didn't do anything with this, so I would just leave that alone. So okay, fine, let's just save it. Ta-da, we've just created version 1 of our map here. Close out of it, and now to make it playable in Tribes 1.4, all you gotta do is go into your Tribes 1.1 base missions. This is where you made it, and just copy. You don't actually need the vol file, because I think it will be using. I actually don't know if you need the TED file either, but let's just hold on to it, because I think a lot of the maps somehow use that. So just copy these 3. It's going to be using this vol file somehow. Okay, I don't know how. But that's basically why we don't touch it, because it's going to be using Dangerous Crossing LT vol. Tribes 1.4. Go into LT. Missions, just dump it in. You can see that it's in the folder. And then we open up Tribes 1.4. Let's see, and Dangerous Crossing LT test. Host game. Huzzah! So here we are. Here's our map. And everything looks... Oh, come on. Everything looks good. Okay, sorry, I hit escape again, and I guess, well, I'm trying to get out of tribes, and that stops my recording. So yeah, anyway, if you like the way that it looks in Tribes 1.4, and all your friends say that this map is awesome, just take these files. I mean, it doesn't matter where from your 1.1 or 1.4 folder. At this point, they're the same. Well, I mean, you just have to send these 3 files to Roscoe, Raven, or whoever. Just zip them up, whatever, and send them. So that's about it. I don't know if I left out anything. But if you guys have any questions, any tips, just let me know. You know where to find me. Later.